Hi, I'm Peter Cunningham. I'm the varsity basketball coach at Marian High School in Omaha, Nebraska, and been the head coach for 5 years there now. And welcome to my Huddle Chalk Talk. I've been at Marian for 7 years now. This is my fifth year's head, and we've had Huddle since I started. And we've really kind of expanded how we use it. We used to just kind of let the film play and just kind of watch and point things out. But now we really, when I watch film and then I'm going to go show it to my players, I really cut clips and just create a little playlist and just show like, okay, here's how they score the ball. Here's what their offense looks like. Here's how they get turnovers. Here's how their best player scores. Here's what their press looks like. And usually how I use film is we do it in prep when we do the day of preparation and practice where we really focus in on our opponent. We talk about it, we show it, we go through it in practice. And then at the end of practice, we go back to it in the film and, we see, oh, like Coach Cunningham was talking about how against the press, we need someone right here in the middle. Well, here's why. We see it on film. And we've done it the other way too, where we show it in the film room first, and then we go to practice. And then that way, what we're saying and what we're showing for our players, then they get to see it themselves on film. Be like, yeah, coach is saying this because look at it, it's right there on film. And then to put two and two together, just as, players are also students. They like to, what they hear is also what they see. And for those things to correlate as a coach is really important. You get a lot more buy-in that way instead of, well, coach is just saying, but we actually get to see it. And here's the reason why. So that's really how we use the film. And then this year's the first year we've had assist, and that's really helped with, when you watch film as a coach, if you just dive right into the film, you kind of have the things you're looking for, like how's the team winning? How are they scoring? But to have the data first, anytime we get game film, we send it to assist, and then I look at the numbers first, and then that really helps me zone in on, okay, this team scored this amount of points, but X amount came from 3-pointers, Y amount came from 2-pointers. Look at their shot chart. They shot 30 shots within two. They shot 15 threes, but 8 of them were from one corner. And so then when you go watch the film, you can really focus in like, okay, I'm seeing what the data is showing. And it really helps focus the film watching instead of, well, I'm watching a game. Okay, what am I looking for? And then it really cuts down on the amount of time you have to watch the game and makes your film watching more effective for the time you do watch. So I'm a math mind. I'm a math teacher. So my brain thinks in numbers. But, the one difference I would say this makes is, not only the amount of time you have to spend watching film, but what is your time going towards? Having this data, and when we watch film, we can make a lot of assumptions and we can really focus in on when we watch film exactly what we're looking for. How are they scoring their threes? Okay, they got these points off of turnovers. Was it really the press that was really the one hurting us, or were we turning it over in the half court? Hey, you look at the box score like this, you see, oh, like this person shot this many threes, made this many. Like we thought it would be something different. We are able to make that adjustment. But if you don't have this tool, then you end up sitting there watching film. You hope that you can find their stats on the game. And if you can't find the stats on the game, because when we take our other stats program, like we only have our players, we don't have their players in there. So we don't have that individual information. So if we can't find that information, online, well, then you end up watching film. Then you end up taking basically a book while you watch film. And then when you're doing that, you get so concerned with, okay, who scored, how many points, how many rebounds. Then you're going to have to go back and watch it again 2 times, 3 times anyway. And you're just using a lot of time. Having this data, reading through the data and knowing how to read through the data really lets you lock in on, okay, this is how they beat us. Now let's see it on film so we can really prove our point to ourselves and to our team, and then really make the adjustments we need to make. And we have the data to prove why we made the adjustments. And again, I really credit, first credit our girls. They really bought in. They bought in the adjustments that we needed to make. But having these numbers and having these shot charts and having this information to go with film really helps in with the buy-in process. In our holiday tournament over Christmas, we played North South, who's they were ranked 2 at the time, and then they won our holiday tournament, our Metro Conference Championship tournament. They won that, and then we were their first opponent. So they played 2 more games, but we didn't have any games in between. And then we have been their only loss this season, and we were able to really prepare for a week and then just really dive into the data and the film. And I think that really kind of paid off as why we were able to be successful the second time, just being able to learn from what we did. All right. So this is the page that we usually look at the most. I mean, there's a lot of other great information that you can really use, but this is the one where I get the most information from. So, I look at it. This was from our first game when we lost against them, and you can see we're MHS, they're MSHS. We really box score wise. I always look at that. See, we struggled early. One thing I look at, especially like when we get the opponents in the scouting, I like to look at the trend line. And once we get like 2 or 3 games back and notice, like, look at the trend lines for the game and notice if you see any patterns, like, like every game in the third quarter, they dip back to being close to tied. Like, okay, so that tells us we can really try to take advantage of the third quarter. Or, I look at this line and I'm like, against some teams, I'm like, well, the final score, this team won by 15. But if you notice, right around the fourth quarter mark, it was tied. So when I go watch the film, I'm going to go right. One of the things I'm going to go to first is actually the fourth quarter and say, okay, what happened between the end of the third quarter and then the fourth? Like, what was the difference? And then how can we use that to our advantage? But, this game specifically, I was looking at the team stats. First thing that jumped out was the 3-point field goals. We were 1 of 9. They were 12 of 28. But then as I kept scrolling, I was like, well, their transition, they did get some transition against us. They beat us in that category, but 15 is not, something that you're like, whoa, that's crazy. But then the next one was like this number for us is usually pretty balanced. Usually most teams you play, you keep that, 10, a little bit less than 10, hopefully no more than 15, but 26 is a very staggering number. You don't see that much, in a game, that big a number in most games that you play. I mean, they scored 72 points, 26 were off of turnovers alone. So that's 26 points that they originally wouldn't even had the ball, but we gave them the ball. And so there was an extra possession and extra points. So that's what really alarmed me. And then I was like, whoa, okay, maybe we turned the ball over way more than they did. And then that would make sense. But then it really jumped out. It's like, no, like 19 is too high for us. Yes. But the fact that we turned them over 19 times as well, it's like, okay, like that's kind of an even battle. But the fact then, like, it was tied and they scored 26 and we scored 12, like that immediately said, in terms of preparation, we got to take care of the ball and we can't give them the opportunities. And then knowing how they press, we didn't press. So it made sense that, okay, they scored 26 points off of turnovers. Most of them had to be from the press because, they're right there. They have the advantage. And so that's what we decided we really had to focus in on. And then the film just backed up the data, or you could even say they backed up each other, depending on which way you go. Data first, film second, film first, data second. They kind of backed each other up. Here's a clip where we struggle with the press. Originally, one of our press breaks so it's basically they run a man-to-man, but they run in trap. And so we would what we call slice people through the middle. And we saw that, especially in the first half, we were really having troubles getting the ball up the court with that. So we get it in, slice someone through the middle, and we supposed to be slicing people back through the middle. So then, that's one thing that we noticed, like our press break wasn't being the most effective. But then you can see, and I'll let it run through again, this girl right here is their best shooter. Now we're scrambling around. It's 4-on-4, but we're scrambling and we're trying to figure out who we have, and their best shooter gets a wide open three. And this happens a few times during the game to where we go to try to beat their press, and what we usually do just wasn't working. So there's the turnover talking about, and then there's the 3-pointers that they were hitting. A lot of them were off of the steals and off of points off of turnovers. That stat, that 26 points they scored, I mean, I would imagine a fair amount of them were 3-pointers, just because we're scrambling around and trying to figure out who we're supposed to guard. So I saw the numbers. We saw the numbers as a staff, and then we saw the clips. We were able to really focus in, like, okay, yeah, like we weren't beating their press and they were hitting threes off their press. Like, that's just a bad combo to try to win a game. So if we look over then at our next game, pull up a clip here, beating the press, we switched it, and we thought, okay, after we get the ball in, we'll put someone right in the middle, keep them in the middle, and make them make a decision in the back. Okay, am I going to take away middle or am I going to take away deep? And we see here that we changed it. We saw it. We take care of the ball, and we get a layup against their press. So, and like I said, we only had 6, maybe 7 turnovers this game. But last time we had 19, and a lot of them were off the press. So we were able to prepare, and we knew that if we could beat them up front, then we could attack and beat them deep and score. Not only just take care of it and beat it, but then score out of it. So seeing those numbers really made us focus in on the press and the press break, and we were able to have plays like this where we took care of the ball, we beat their press, and the press didn't hurt us like it did the first time. So that's just, side-by-side comparison, world of difference, being able to lock in on the data, what went wrong the first time, and then really focus in on film. Okay, what wasn't working? What do we need to change? And the night and day difference right there. All right, again, this is Peter Cunningham, Omaha Marian High School. Thank you for watching my Hudl Chalk Talk.